The Chief Justice is furious. The Prime Minister is angry. And the women of India, not just the women of Manipur, are weeping in anguish and in rage. I'm Barkha Dutt, you're with the Mojo story. Our continued coverage on the horrific video from Manipur, an incident that took place on the 4th of May, but that the country is only talking about on the 20th of July. A video in which two women can be seen stripped naked, stripped to the bone, paraded naked, groped, shoved by a mob of men. We have the details of what went behind this video. We know that one of the women who is in this video was brutally gang raped. This is as per the FIR filed by her village chief and now confirmed by the police of Manipur. We know that she was 21 years old. We know that she was a member of a family, 5 members of a family, fleeing an armed mob when they were blocked. And the woman was raped. Her brother was killed. Her brother was 19 years old for trying to save her life. We also know, we now have testimonies that this is not the only documented rape. This is not the only documented instance of women's bodies being used as a battlefield for conflict. What can and will happen next? With the Chief Justice and the Prime Minister intervening, perhaps finally there is some hope that the men who did this to the women on this video will be caught and brought to justice. But meanwhile, the young women in this video live in a relief camp. We tried to find out if they've even managed to see a doctor, and we don't have clarity even on that. Joining us now on the program is rights activist and senior lawyer Vrinda Grover. Vrinda, thank you. I wish we were talking in happier circumstances, but this video, it just, even for those of us who've seen terrible things in life, it breaks a little part of you. And I can't even imagine what it was like for the women who are in this video, and most of us have seen the uncensored version of it. The Chief Justice is furious. He has said to the government, if you don't act, we will. Do you think that there is some hope for justice, or are you still extremely concerned about what's happening in Manipur and in particular to the women of Manipur?
Barkha, I'm afraid I am not feeling hopeful or confident at all. The Chief Justice of India has said that he's very disturbed and has asked the state to present a report, and they have taken suo motu action, and the matter will now come up again on the following Friday. The reason why one is not feeling hopeful or confident is that while all of us in the country, including the Supreme Court, has learned of this only yesterday, I'm afraid the administration, the Chief Minister of Manipur, and I assume the central government, the Home Ministry, the Prime Minister, knew that these crimes were taking place. And I'm making that assumption because I'm going to assume that we have a functional government, both at the center and at the state. They would definitely have been informed of the violence. There is a registered FIR on 18th of May. These matters would have been communicated as of great priority and importance in a state which has now seen violence for 2 months. So the Prime Minister and the Chief Justice of India, we cannot say in the same breath in this instance, because the Prime Minister would have known of what is happening. In fact, the Solicitor General on behalf of the centre has, in matters relating to Manipur, and cases have come up before the Supreme Court, have said that the security forces are out there, situation is continuously improving. The Chief Minister, hours after this, less than 24 hours after the video goes viral, and therefore what is most important is it was the citizens' anger and agony which has finally made the government respond and say something. The state machinery failed the people of this country, and definitely the women and people of Manipur. And it took outrage of the entire people for them to think they should do what they should normally have been doing.
Yeah.
Now a test has been made. In this video, men's faces are visible. The arrest was made. Suddenly they knew who it was, and an arrest has to be made. And of course, complete stuff that we've all heard before. Oh, we will give severe punishment. This is not acceptable, death sentence, etc., etc. As you said, have those women received any attention, medical, other form of help that they need? They are languishing in a camp. They have lost family members. Barkha, please tell me, does this not remind you of Bilkis Banu? Have we not seen this before in this country, where women of the targeted group are hounded, men are killed, women are sexually assaulted? This is not new in this country. Why do we not know that when there is mob violence, when there were fake videos going viral, why is the administration not taking preventive steps? If the administration has failed, if the chief minister suddenly wakes up, how are we as citizens to understand this?
Yeah. You mentioned that the FIR was registered on the 18th of May. We were trying to find out exactly when the FIR was filed. And from what I understand, a zero FIR, you can explain the technicality to me, was filed on the 18th. And then it takes till the 21st of June for the full FIR to be registered. Can you explain to our audience what that means?
So zero FIR is when, uh, supposing a crime was to take place in a particular place, you go to the local police station because that police station has jurisdiction to investigate the crime. However, if you are unable to go to the local police station, where of course, if you're being hounded by a mob and family members are being killed and you are being sexually assaulted, you can't return to that police station. You can go to any police station and a zero FIR is registered because the exact number of the FIR is not given by that particular police station. It is then the responsibility of the police to ensure that the investigation is done by the concerned police station. And in a case like this, since of course the entire state machinery, and I'm assuming that there's great coordination going on between the center and the state when a state is in crisis for sure, they would have got somebody to be investigating this. And as you're saying, on 21st June, the full FIR has been registered. We should therefore not be, sorry, 21st May.
June.
Oh, June. So
21st June. 21st June is
okay,
my understanding. I will need to clarify that this is
correct.
initial. There's a little bit of haziness about the FIR, but this is my understanding that the incident takes place on the 4th of May. 18th May is the zero FIR, and 21st June is when the full FIR gets registered. But again, health warning, these are hazy details. We've not been able to get the exact, accurate official version on this FIR yet.
So that in itself actually tells two very important things to us, that this kind of delay between 4th May to 18th May, that's the date that even the chief minister has said on a television channel. So we will
Yeah.
assume that there is some accuracy attached to it. When this incident takes place, the women and their family members are not going to be in a position to go around lodging FIRs. They are fleeing for their life. Uh, the authorities know. There are police people present. What is the law? The law says if the police has information about a cognizable offense, it doesn't say the rape victim dying and molested has to turn up at the police station and only then an FIR will be lodged. Why was the FIR not lodged till 18th May? There is no answer. To say, oh, we lodged the FIR on 18th May is not an answer. And if the further registration, etc., is taking greater time, then that in itself is showing that the administration is absolutely dysfunctional or as far as protecting basic lives and dignity is concerned.
Yeah, I want to play out for you a short clip from a rights activist from the Kuki community sobbing as she said, she had two questions. She said, will India stand with us? Will India now stand with us? And her second, not question, but comment was, she said, I would rather die than go through what these women went through. Now, of course, it's a rhetorical comment. We don't want women to think their lives are over after sexual assault, but it captured her pain. And I want you to just for 1 minute listen in and I'll come back to you. This is Gladys Hunjun, a Kuki tribal rights activist leader, speaking about this video.
You know, it is not against the cookies or women now. It is against all the women in our country. We are being paraded naked. We're being raped. And And when this incident happened, we were hoping at least the video will not circulate. But today, it's everywhere, Barkha. It's shameful to even show it in front of a male lawyer. We have to find a female lawyer who will be able to see. What else can I say, Barkha? You tell me, what else can I say?
It is not about Kuki women or Meiti women. It is about the women of India. We're horrified that the video has leaked. The survivors who were able to tell their story before the video leak do not want to speak anymore because they have been identified. Their identities have been revealed. They are petrified. We've been on the phone with their families all day. They say now their community leaders they're scared this case may be shut down, they may be not allowed to come forth, and the stigma associated with sexual violence in our country. When you hear a woman break down and say this is now about all Indian women, will someone finally stand up? What do you think? What do you feel?
I feel I'm not sure I don't know who are all these Indian women. What we are hearing is that women are also divided along caste, religion,
Yeah.
ethnicity lines. Dalit women have been paraded naked in this country. It's not happening for the first time. Very, very unfortunate. And I'm not saying that because it's happened in the past, it should happen again. But as women, we have not stood together. This country has not stood by women. Women have been divided. In fact, we are increasingly seeing the role of women participating in abetting crimes against women. So I don't know when all of us as human beings, our consciousness will be raised, but we will have to understand that women's bodies are targeted, and it's actually a vicious trap we are in. Women are seen as the repository of honor. Then the body is targeted to humiliate and degrade the entire community. Then the community says now we have to remain silent because we have all been shamed, and those very women are further silenced. So it is about all of us together breaking out of this, and women understanding that they will not win in this pitting between caste, religion, ethnicity. We are not going to win this. And to the community leaders, we've seen this over and over again. To the community leaders, one would say, this is not, the wrong is not of the women. This is not the shame of the community. This is about injustice and crimes. And together with all of us, in fact, those women should be honored to be able to give them the courage to come forward. That is what Bhavari Devi did. And she changed the law for the women of this country, and this country has not given her justice. The courts of this country have not given her justice. And that is how we have to, those women have to become our leaders. We have to stand in support and solidarity. It is not their shame. Their faces we should mark with respect. We
Yeah.
have to change this culture completely. And as women, we must take the lead. And the community leaders in such circumstances must open their minds and hearts to listening to the women. Their suffering should be foregrounded. Don't wait for the government. They are not going to do anything. The courts of law, Barkha, it is only recently that the September 2013 Muzaffarnagar communal violence gang rape cases, we won one case in 2023. It took a decade, and many activists, 7 women went to the Supreme Court in 2014. There is a reported judgment of March 2014 of the Supreme Court bench chaired by the Chief Justice of India. One woman could survive the travails of time. Bilkis Bano's remission should haunt each one of us today. And no words of the government are going to assuage women of this country, because that remission is an executive act. The impunity is being signaled from the top.
Yeah, it's such an important point also that you mentioned about women being split along ethnic, religious, political, ideological, so many different lines. One of the things we've been facing ever since we've been reporting on this video, Vrinda, is members of the Meitei community of Manipur, and I am not taking away their suffering. When there is a conflict, there are extremist elements on both sides. Both sides have elements that are armed. This has been going on now for more than 60 days. If ever there was a case for president's rule, God knows this is one. But we have comments saying, why don't you show us that also? Why don't you show us this also? We've been doing our best to show everything that we come across, but this whataboutery is going to be the death of us standing together as women.
I totally agree, Barkha. And I think the questions should be asked, is the state administration, is the state government, is the central government, are they acting with impartiality and independence? The onus is on them. It is not whether Barkha has shown one story and 1 minute less of some other community. Why are the questions not being addressed to those who are wielding power over here? And we know, and the chief minister has said this just this morning in one of the television channels, these are not the only case. There are other cases of sexual violence. This has shaken our conscience. But we know that there are many others. People are in camps. Who is going to create that access to justice without activists supporting? And I'm sorry, I will say it here. Activists are being demonized, criminalized. A group of women went there who are part of various women's groups. They have FIR against them. You are not going to allow activists to enable the access. The state is not there to help women access justice. Lodging an FIR is not access to justice. So how will this country move? We are in a very, very deep crisis. Pious statements saying we are feeling very ashamed and we will give death sentence is not going, nobody is buying it anymore. Women are not accepting it. If you have to create access to justice, each one of those situations will have to be understood. How has this violence continued for so long, as you have rightly said? And in an ethnic clash, women will be targeted. We know that in this country. This country was born from the horrors of the partition violence. We know what happened then. It's the same thing. Where is that Amrit Kal today for these women?
Yeah.
What is the police doing in terms of the investigation? Was any medical examination done? Has any 164 been recorded? Now everybody, NCW and everybody else has sprung into action. What were they waiting for? Is this a joke?
Yeah, it's the point you make. We are talking today as a country about sexual violence against women in Manipur because of this video. That's the irony of this video. The women are horrified that their faces have been identified. But if this video hadn't gone viral, perhaps their story, this horror, no one would have spoken, at the top echelons of power. But there are other incidents, and even while reporting this story, we have been told that there are two other young girls, according to testimonies, they have been raped and killed. There is no where do we begin documenting all of this? How will we ever know? Who will find out?
So now what we have, that's why I said we are in a moment of crisis in this country. Certain facts and figures are usually available with the state because they have the authority, they set up the camps, they know what is happening. The state is not, this was known to the state that this sexual violence and disrobing and parading had happened, was known to the state. They are not taking any action against that, nor is anything being done to ensure that it's not being repeated and those who have suffered are getting any justice. So it will be the burden of the citizens. Now the citizens will be called activists, they're disturbing law and order. I want this country to please think, what is this phrase law and order all about? Is this about maintaining politicians in power? Or is law and order about safeguarding our lives and dignity? This law and order should only be maintained, internet should be shut down to safeguard our lives and dignity, not to suppress the truth and not to keep somebody in power. That's not the purpose and that's not the reason why the state is given the police, etc., etc. So this will be the task of citizens. Citizens should be allowed to have access. They should prepare those reports. Those, and this is not new. Before we start saying, oh, you belong to certain ideology, certain political party, which is complete nonsense as far as somebody like me is concerned. How did we know the truth about the 1984 anti-Sikh massacre in Delhi? Because PUDR and PUCL brought out a report that stood the test of time when the state was partisan. The citizens will bring out the truth. Criminalizing that, putting FIRs on them, the police should be held accountable, courts should make sure that is not happening. This is the time where, without the intervention of constitutional courts, without monitoring by constitutional courts, I know the Honorable Chief Justice has said, next Friday, take action and report to us. Let me just draw your attention to two things. Petitions were filed on different aspects, not on this, on attacks, targeting, lack of safety, etc. On each occasion, including before a vacation bench, on each occasion, the Solicitor General said steps are being taken, things are under control. We are trying our best to bring it, something to that effect. This requires monitoring by the state. Monitoring by the
Supreme Court.
The state will say, FIR is lodged, investigation is happening, one person has been arrested. By the time next Friday, I promise you, more than one would have been arrested. We are in an action-reaction regime. This is not administration. This is action-reaction going on. And the action happens on social media, then some reaction happens in reality. The court must monitor. Status reports saying things are moving will not help. We saw what happened in the Brij Bhushan Singh case. The Supreme Court was told FIR is lodged, now things will move. And how they were dragged. Of course, now things have started moving, a charge sheet has been filed. So one, monitoring by the state, monitoring by the Supreme Court of India, because there is a presumption that when the state says to a constitutional court like a high court or Supreme Court that this is happening, there is a presumption that this is correct and truthful. However, if that is not the case, then the court will have to break the pattern and start monitoring, because only with constant scrutiny and monitoring of the court are we seeing in situations and crimes where the state has, by its own decision, interlocked itself with crimes. Nobody is asking the state to interlock itself with these crimes, but the state does. The only authority that can rupture it is the court. Monitoring of all sexual violence cases, monitoring of the condition in the camps. How will this peace be restored? There is a very, very severe breach today we are seeing. How will people live?
Do you think finally the court made a mistake? The court had an opportunity to intervene earlier. Now, of course, the court could feel this is not our domain, and they did say that this is not our domain, and we don't want to be encroaching on executive domain, on legislative domain. But do you think that the court should have shown a little more urgency? And now that the words have come from the Chief Justice of India himself, do you think a week is too long to wait? Because, in a week, the government can submit a report on this particular case. But as you said, there are other cases, there are other questions, there are other vulnerabilities.
See, the way institutions have to function within a constitutional scheme is that this is very much in the domain of the state. That is why I'm saying the court has to believe that the state must discharge its duty, and the court cannot start doing the job of the state or the job of the executive. That is very much in their domain. But I think here, I don't know about the timing. I mean, those are things courts will have to think for themselves. What I would emphasize is, simply because a status report says that we are going to fast track this, we are going to give the death sentence, there's no conviction, we have already announced death sentence. And that, we've arrested so many people, there's a fast track court set up, etc. That is the way the scrutiny is taken off. There must be a continuous monitoring so that the state knows that its actions will be reviewed, evaluated on the threshold of what their constitutional obligation is. Because for 60 days, they have been allowed to discharge their constitutional duty. They chose not to do it. And that is why we will have to think, is this, and I'm just saying this out aloud. Is this an incompetent state center machinery? Is this a neutral state center machinery? Or is this a partisan state center machinery in which this violence and this level of sexual violence is happening with impunity?
Yeah, I think the bottom line is that Biren Singh, who in the last few hours has been able to announce capital punishment for the accused, the question must be asked from the 18th of May to the 20th of July. What did not happen in 2 months? How has it happened in no less than 24 hours? Thank you, Vrinda. We will leave it there. A very
4th of May. I think the chief minister must be having an intelligence bureau.
I mean, I don't know. I'm just assuming. I'm just taking it from the date when the FIR was registered. The incident, of course, took place on the 4th of May. And that is a very, very grave set of questions. Was the chief minister looking the other way? Did he not know? Did he know and choose not to act? Those are all the questions that I wonder if the Supreme Court will now get involved in as it looks at this case. And the Chief Justice says, if you don't act, we will. Thank you very much, Ms. Vrinda Grover. Always a pleasure. Thank you and take care.
Thanks, Barkha.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.